kenspencer.com. I'll write this on the board. I'm sorry I was a little delayed before the class this morning. I didn't get a chance to put this up on the board. I'll put it up here later. kenspencer.com while it's loading. Okay, and then click on MacNexus at the top. I'm sorry? Oh, did it not go on the other side? I'm surprised I got it back. So these are the classes, and they're recorded. They're unedited. They're exactly like we do it here with my voice, and I try to repeat questions for you. But you can go here, and it's broken down into the first class, second class, etc. So under MacNexus at kenspencer.com. See if the site's back up. Ooh, that's scary. I'm sorry. Speaking of that, empowermac.com. That's myself and my partner, Pete Losey, my business partner, Pete Losey. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Let's see here. I just want to open recent. All righty. So that's me. But also, we're going to do pages today. In fact, we're going to get started in pages in just a couple minutes. Coming up February 23rd and 24th will be a full weekend of iWork with EmpowerMac, and Pete Losey is the best teacher you'll ever come across, hands down. He's fantastic. He'll do pages in the morning for iOS, for the iPad, and in the afternoon it'll be pages for the computer, for the Mac. Sunday, he's going to be doing Keynote in the morning for iPhone and for the Mac and for the iPad, and then in the afternoon it'll be numbers for both. But his pages class is fantastic. This is just going to be a teaser of some of the things you'll do there. Now, the way I like to describe it today, what we're doing is more like a lecture situation. EmpowerMac classes are a hands-on lab type situation. We have power supply set up. We have Wi-Fi set up. You bring your computers. Yes, you haul your 27-inch iMac. Thank goodness you kept your box to the class. Little tip, when you put your iMac back in your box, put a pillowcase over it, and that protects your screen. So, February 23rd and 24th, it's a Saturday and Sunday, and it's out at Sierra View Country Club in Roseville. So, it's really, really good. There's my email address and my phone number. Feel free to, if you have any questions, let me know. The site will be back up this evening. I thank God I went to the site and saw it was down. So, it's really another name expired, but it really took it. Oh, well, that's my bad. All right, so deal sites. I go to Mac Resource Forum all the time. Now that we're recording, you guys will be able to get this. MacResource.com into the forums. It's a great place where if I need to ask questions of fellow Mac users, I go there. The MacNexus forum is wonderful also. We try to answer there. I don't get on there as often as I'd like. I'm talking, this is kind of Ken's deal time right now. Fatwallet.com is a wonderful site. In fact, does anybody know how to get, when I buy, now we have to buy apps for our Mac from the App Store and for our computer and music and stuff. I get 20% off everything I buy. Because when there's deals on iTunes gift cards, I go buy the 20% off deals. So right now, if I type in iTunes in fatwallet.com, it'll show me that there's currently, as it loads, so I buy the card and I just bank it so that I get 20% off on all that stuff. So instead of spending $19.99 or $19 for pages, I get $4 off that. So here, right now, Rite Aid on 2/3 to 2/9, $25 iTunes gift cards for $20 with ad. Apple iTunes gift card for $85 at Best Buy. That probably still works for a little bit. So that's, you don't have to rush out and do it right now, but you keep an eye out for it. Okay? iTunes, 20% off is about all you'll ever find. 15 is out there. You can almost find 10% almost any time. So the other cool thing is if you get an iTunes gift card and you're running the new iTunes and you click redeem, you hold your card up to your camera on your Mac and it reads the number on your card and it redeems it. Because, you know, who likes putting in that number? And of course, you always mess up. Yeah. Now, I couldn't believe, boom, bing, done. So sometimes you'll get, like I got around Christmas, Walmart had a deal. You get a $50 gift card for $40. So what I did is I bought 2 of them, knowing that I could bank them if I want. But that way I could instantly email if somebody brought me a Christmas gift that I wasn't expecting. I could have emailed them one of the cards to them, and I looked like, oh, I meant to do this all along. I was really prepared. Well, luckily for me, nobody brought me something I didn't really need. So I just took those cards after Christmas and redeemed them, and I got a credit on iTunes. Another one is slickdeals.net and dealmac.com. So those are on the recordings. So those are just all great deals. If anybody's looking for the big game for a 60-inch plasma TV, Fry's has a 60-inch plasma TV for $6.99. So needs 2 people to carry and make sure your car is big enough for it. It's a great deal. All right. So any other Macworld insights from anybody else? Because I'm sure I missed some stuff. Gail, anything that stood out? No? Okay. Al?
Just dismayed that the footprint seems to be decreasing.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to see the whole show, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. 2-3 hours. Done.
It was funny because the people I went with, we met in Davis at 7:30. Tom Lovering and Dave Yost. We went down there, and I had a meeting, or I had a dinner planned in Roseville at 7 o'clock that evening. So I emailed him. I says, you know, guys, let's go Thursday, but I've got to be in Roseville by 7, so it means we need to leave San Francisco by 4. And then Dave, smartass, jumps back and says, well, I'll leave at 4:05, but not a second sooner. But anyway, we got in there and we looked around and we said to each other, okay, well, let's meet at 1 o'clock and just see how much of the rest of the show we want to see. So, and in fact, I saw Robert Ress was there, and we get up there at 1 o'clock, and then finally we went to grab 2 different things, and we were gone by 1:30. I was home before 4 o'clock. So. And we didn't even blame it on traffic. We'd seen everything. You know, it's good to go. It's fun. I saw some app developer things that I kind of like, but it's not what it used to be by any means, so don't go in with that. But thank goodness it was free. I'm glad I didn't pay $25 for it. They finally lowered the price. Al, go ahead.
Did they discontinue those, the Apple pundits that got out there and talked? I didn't see them.
No, see, that's the thing I think that's going to be. I didn't get a chance to, but for $75, you can get you could get the speaking pass, and there were tons of conference things going on. Yeah.
Last year, it was down at the exhibit hall, and you could sit in on a session and have a glass.
I'd be willing to bet that thing might evolve into a not just Apple iPhone kind of thing. I think it'll be like a tech gadget kind of thing, because Samsung was there. They had a booth. It was iPearl, and I'm just thinking, when I saw that, I kind of started thinking about and it'd be fine, the more the merrier, because it's expensive for those companies to come to those shows. All right, so Pages. Pages is part of it used to be part of iWork. Now they're broken in. Let me get rid of all this. There we go. Pages was part of the iWork suite, which is Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. Pages, I hate to say, is the equivalent of Word, because it's not. It's light years better, which hopefully you'll find that out today. Numbers corresponds to Excel, and Keynote corresponds to PowerPoint. And hands down, they're so much better. because the first and best thing is, if you learn Pages, you're also learning Numbers and Keynote, because the menus are the same, the palettes and everything else are the same, with slight exceptions. Obviously in Keynote you have moving things, and in Pages you don't necessarily have moving things. But it's learn it once, kind of the Apple way, you learn it on everything. So your time invested in it is never going to come back and hurt you. It's going to help you with those other apps. Pages kind of, it's right now, it's from 09. I did just read this morning, in fact, that Apple has put out a job search for someone to kind of take it and even make it maybe a little more enterprise, or boost it up a little bit so it's a little stronger in other situations. The problem with Pages, Apple wants to be very simplistic in what they do. They hide a lot of things behind the scenes. And the hard thing is to go out and find those things, because they don't leave a lot of breadcrumbs. They're hidden there, or Google it and somebody else has found it, and Google is your friend in that regard. But you just get in and experiment. You can't hurt anything. But if you want to do something and you're saying, I can't see how to do it, Google it. You'll be surprised. There's tons of resources out there for that. But the problem with Pages here, now who has used Pages? Okay. Anybody that's not using it on a Mac but iPad only? Good, because we're going to concentrate more on the Mac. The iPad Pages is very, very good, but I feel it's important to learn it on the Mac first, because it'll help you on the iPad, and it's a little easier to display here, and there's so many tips and tricks. All right, so the first thing you do is you fire up Pages. So I'm going to click on my Pages in my dock, or I should tell you, I have a pretty busy dock there, and I have a lot of apps. I actually, for the most part, go up to Spotlight in the upper right now, which searches your entire computer when you click on it. I'm just going to type Pages, and it's now searching my entire computer for the word Pages, and there's the top hit. Oh, it's an application. Well, somehow in these documents is the word Pages. There's Pages Docs, Agenda. These all have the word Pages in them. It could be anything. If there's a PDF document on your computer that has the word Pages in it, it would show up. It looks in that document and looks for those pages. Believe it or not, sometimes a PDF map, if there was a city named Pages, it would show up that it's in that document. But as I come down, let's say that here is, I'm just hovering, I'm not clicking anything. It gives you a preview of what's in that. So let's go down here to, let's see, college contacts. Even in a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, there's somewhere the word Pages is in there.
Would it find stuff in an email too?
Yes, in fact, if you look here in Messages, Agenda for February, somewhere in here is the word Pages. Oh, there it is. See attached minutes. Okay? Now, that's a reason to not delete your email. You need to have 62,000 messages in your email like I do. I'm not a hoarder. I'm a keeper. I thought I was a hoarder until I saw one of those shows one time and going, I'm feeling a little more normal now. But seriously, your mail doesn't take up much room. I know that if I delete it, I'll need it. That's just the fact. I live with that, so I don't want to curse myself and have the guilt of, I know I needed that little ad from Land's End from 3 years ago. But anyway. So, sorry, Robert, we got you on there.
So if you have Evernote.
What's that?
I said if you have Evernote.
We're not going there. Okay. Anyway, this searches everywhere in your Mac, and you'll notice it even searched inside an Excel document, okay? I don't know where Pages is here. It might be something over in here, but anyway. So I'm just hovering over it. If I want to activate it, I just click on that. Now, how many of you on your iPhone or iPad have gotten to that big black screen that's past your home screen? What is it? It's Spotlight. It's the same thing on there. I'll show you once we get it connected up here. But that's a tool. Now, and this isn't Pages, this is everything on your Mac, and why that's there and where we're going is, if you'll notice when you're on your iPad or your iPhone, you don't place your files in a Documents folder and then in the Documents, Education, keep this till 2013 thing, folder. There's no file folder structure in here, is there? But if you fire up Pages, all your Pages documents show up if they're on here, and you have Spotlight that searches everywhere. Believe me, we're going to, and I like file structures. I have nested folders inside everything else, but we're going away from that. Believe it or not, when OS X first came out, Apple almost eliminated the Finder. They decided that they didn't have enough market share at that point that they would have been like really ticking off a lot of people, so they didn't do it. But that's where we're going in the future, and if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. It's going to be hard for techie people that do, you use your folder structure to go to do things, but realistically, as the search becomes better, you're not going to need it. So use Spotlight on both of these. The Spotlight on your if I pulled up Spotlight on my iPad, it would do exactly the same thing. It would show those same messages, etc. Okay? So use Spotlight. I use it because I have a ton of applications, and I just hit Pages, and look what I'm faced with. When I fire up Pages now, if you have the iCloud, you have a choice. It usually defaults right to the iCloud. So you say, I'm firing up a new document. Well, I'm going to make this document, and it's got a set somewhere. It's a new document. Do I want it on the iCloud, or do I want it in my folder that's inside a folder that's inside a folder that's inside a folder? Which is okay. But if you're going to access it on another Mac or another iPad or iPhone, why not create it on the cloud? You get 5 gigs of storage for free. Use 4.9 of it. Okay? It's free. You got to use it. That's kind of the whole hoarder creed, right? Anyway, you can do either one. But you're faced with this screen now, and this kind of throws people sometimes. So for this purpose, I'm going to create the document on the iCloud because we're going to show the document on the iPad later. So I'm going to click iCloud, and I click on New Document. Okay? Now, here's the part that messes people up the most in Pages. Pages is what? What do we call what it is? It's a word processor. But it's also a page layout program.
Templates.
No, templates are templates in there, but it's a page layout, like PageMaker or one of those. So if you'll notice, word processing and page layout. Well, I don't know. Am I going to do I don't know. Do I want word processing or do I want page layout? And you pick the wrong one, there's never going back. They both can get to the same end. It doesn't necessarily matter, but let me show you the tip on which you pick. If I go up here to word processing, and you'll notice most of the templates are very linear. They're text intensive. If it's a multi-page document and you need the text to wrap from one page to the other, again, a letter, an article, writing a book, things like that, you would pick the word processing. Okay? If you want to get real creative and you want to do page layout, look at these examples. They're considerably different. So let the pre-existing templates lead you down the right path. Okay? The difference is if these are text intensive, the text is in box. There's a huge advantage to that, but there's also a disadvantage to it in the things you have to do if you're doing a multiple page document that's primarily text. Now, how many here have used Word? How many here are experts at Word? There's so much in there. And have you ever tried to put an image in a Word document and did it work correctly? It's tough. Here, it's really easy. So again, I'm going to touch on text, But the most fun is in the page layout. So I'm going to go back up to word processing. And by the way, you'll notice here, envelopes. How tough is it to do an envelope? Well, it's pretty tough. If we just click on this one envelope here, let's pick this one. Oh, you know what's funny? It didn't fill it in. Usually it'll fill it in with your own return address on there, because I don't have a work one. And also, I can drag someone's address from my address book into here. Let's show you this. This is going to be the teaser. So I go to contacts, and yeah, I have a thing for Linda. Or I have a thing for Linda, excuse me. I have her address. So I just drag that over there. Look at that. Boom, it filled it out. Oh, wait. You sure? I can make it harder. Command Z, undo it. Oh, Command Z undoes. All right? So the nice thing is, too, envelope printing is always interesting. Flap up, flap down, flap this way. I mean, how many of us have printed over where the flap goes? Hey, you know what? They'll take it. Who cares? This does a pretty good job of interacting with your printer. So trust envelopes. It works great. You can do a lot of different things. You could put your own picture right here if you wanted. How do we go get our own picture? We click on Media. We're going to do more of this later. My iPhoto is closed right now, but this actually goes in and can pull stuff from my iPhoto library. Here we go. Let's just move that right there. That's pretty tough. I drug the picture from over here to where that picture was, and now I have my own one. Actually, this one's Yosemite. I'll use that one instead. Or this one was kind of funny. My best friend's mom and dad, and then my mom are both in little scooters. We're at Yosemite, so looks like they're having a race. All right, so that's envelopes. Let's hit the red dot to shut that. I'm going to delete it because I don't want it there. I'm going to open up another new from Template Chooser. And I'll just go to letters. And I'll pick good old plain letterhead. Let's do this one. So I'm going to move this out of the way. So you'll notice it filled in some of my information, but since I don't list a word in my contacts or address book on the Me card, if I'd had a work address there, it would fill that in, but I just have it as a home address. But you notice it filled in my email address at least. Here is, and then gobbledygook. It's showing you what it looks like, and this we'll see in the other templates. But all I do is I click on that, and I just start typing. Oh, actually, why type? Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country, period. New paragraph. This is the built-in text-to-speech, comma, that comes with Mountain Lion, period. If your Macintosh has a microphone, you have this built in for free, period. Not just in Pages, you guys. Okay, it works in Word also. That's the built-in dictation. We'll try, if I don't touch on that, make sure I do. It's built into your, if you have 10.8 Mountain Lion, it's got it. And it's text-to-speech only. It's not Siri and all that.
What did you get to make it to?
For $20, I'll tell you. You double tap the function button. And actually, if it's not enabled, the first time you double tap, and every keyboard that comes from Mac has a function button. I have some clients that use non-Apple keyboards, so we can change it to be double tap of another key. But if you double tap the function button for the first time, it comes up and says, wait, you double tap function. Do you want to use dictation? Well, yeah. So you hit yes, and it says, well, we're going to send this information over the yes, boom, done. And you have to speak. The punctuation is the important thing, okay? You can speak up to 30 seconds at a time, and it records what you're saying, sends it back to you, and it will never misspell a word. Because before it comes back to you, it goes through a dictionary. Now, it doesn't mean it's always going to give you the best word. 2, 2, and 2 doesn't equal 6. 2, 2, 2, you know. So it's a challenge at times, but it is pretty good for doing a note or something. But That's where the nuanced Mac dictate works even better, because I can say, scratch that, go back. I can say, eliminate the word elucidate or something like that, and it'll do that. But this is a simple rather than type. And once you get trained at it, it does quite well. The best way to do it is you have to watch run-on words. So instead of just speaking like this, and I have my cadence is usually very quick, it's best if you say each word individually so that it really knows what you're saying. Okay, so you think in phrases, but try to speak each word in itself, and then you have to speak your punctuation. Tip of the day here, though, is if you want to have single line spacing, you say new line. If you want double line spacing, you say new paragraph. And you'll see that by doing this, I say the word new and the word paragraph, period, new paragraph. If I say the word new and the word line, period, it gives me a new line. Anyway, you'll see the spacing here. So, new paragraph is 2 returns. Normally the words will just wrap like normal, okay? You keep typing, they'll wrap for you. You don't have to say anything. But if you say new line, it gives you a new line, and then this is new paragraph with a double carriage return. Speak your punctuation, speak exclamation mark, etc. Numbers are tough. Numeral 1, period. This is the first number on the list. New line. Numeral 2, period. This is the second number in the list. Period. Numeral 3, period. If I say 3, it tends to write it out. Have to have an internet connection and it's going to fail. There it is. So numeral 1, okay, this is the first number on the list. Numeral 2, this is the second number on the list. Oh, I didn't say carriage return. Then I said numeral 3, and it says 3. If you don't say numeral, it writes out the word. Which actually is very beneficial, because I don't know all those rules, but there's times when you're supposed to write the word out versus, or write the number out, as a word rather than as a number. Right there, and then I'll have John next. Go ahead.
Can you go up to the 3 and just double click it?
No, it's set. No, you can't do anything to it.
Come on.
It's just like, I know. It's just like you typed it. If you typed it, you could go fix it.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't anguish over it. Just go up and fix it. Now, she has a tendency to learn a little bit from you. Okay? So, now, John, you had a question earlier?
Oh, just on envelopes, different size envelopes. I think there's only one size on that.
No, it shows one size. When you go to print it, you have a choice.
Oh.
Okay, so very good question. So you have a choice of envelopes. Right here?
When you said a single line, you have really a space between them.
Yeah, because I think this format has it spaced out a little bit, is the way it was.
But if you wanted to do a line of poetry, for example, and stop.
Not from me.
Sorry.
Good luck. Yeah, it depends. It's formatted on this pages one as different line spacing. So new line is a single carriage return. New paragraph is double carriage return. But I think that this was formatted as it. You'll notice in the first one here, I didn't say new line, but it word wrapped to be single. I think what this has, it has double spacing set on the page, okay? So there was another question over here. Okay, so everybody will have, if you have Mountain Lion, this is a good, if you don't have Mountain Lion, you can still use other stuff. Al?
That's not available online. Is it just strictly
Mountain Lion. Yeah, as far as I know, I'm almost certain on that. So, time to buy a new one, huh? Okay, so again, that's a linear page. That's word processing. Let's, and think about it's dull and staid and it's just kind of that. Let's go have some fun. Okay, I'm going to hit the red dot. Oh, by the way, It's auto-saving this the entire time. But Mac programs never crash, right? They actually rarely crash. But what my recommendation is, if you're spending a lot of time on your document and you know that you're doing some heavy lifting and it might crash, quit the document, quit the document. It saves automatically, but what I'm saying is shut it down, the document, and bring the document back up, because then it sets that in stone in save. Because sometimes it's not gonna, you bring it back up and it's where you were 5 minutes ago. And you'll never get that thought pattern back that you had doing it. So it doesn't happen very often, but it's same applies to iMovie, same applies if you're making a book, an iPhoto, things like that. And who here is not using Time Machine for a backup? It's okay to admit it, and I'm like the doctor and lawyer, no one else will know. Do you have a reason?
I don't know what it is.
Okay. Do you,
Gamble sure.
well, actually, somebody doesn't know what it is. Time Machine, what's this guy? He's talking about he's a hoarder and this. Time Machine is built into every Mac since 10.5. You go to Costco, Fry's, whatever, and you plug in an external hard drive, and it automatically backs up every hour for you. So do you have any backup, Carbonite, anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. Carbonite is good as a secondary backup, and if you have a lot of photos, it's kind of tough. It's some heavy lifting. But you should always have a physical backup with your machine, because if your machine gets stolen, a hard drive crashes, whatever, you just take that, plug it into the new machine. Karen, I don't know what to do. And I say, press these 2 buttons, boom. It restores your machine exactly where you left off. So Costco, every external hard drive, you can get the little ones. You're going to spend $100, but it's the best $100 you ever spent, because how many here have lost a hard drive ever? Okay, and I guarantee that most of those people are using some sort of backup. So I can give you info on that later if you'd like. Yes.
Just a quick question about Time Machine. You said it backs up every hour. Can you set it to back up like every 15 minutes?
No, but what you can do is, her question was, it backs up every hour. And I'll talk about Time Machine in a second here, because I think it's super important, especially because you're going to be creating all these great documents now. If they're stored on the cloud, they're protected. But there's other stuff in your Mac, like your photos. That kid's never going to be 5 years old again. That dog isn't around any longer. If you lose those, think about the Malibu fire. People run out with their photo books, right? If they're home at that time. Okay, these are your memories. These are documents. But with Time Machine, it backs up automatically every hour, but you actually can go up to your Time Machine and say back up now. You can force it to back up sooner. The first backup it does is huge. After that, it's incremental backups. And here's how Time Machine works. If I have let's say I take 2 photos, and this is a rose, and this is a cat. Okay, my cats aren't very good. Okay. All right. I'm out in the yard taking photos of this beautiful rose, and I get a great shot of the rose, and the neighbor's cat runs by, so I get a fleeting shot of the cat. Kind of blurry like the bird shot I got, right? So I load these into iPhoto. That's a blurry shot of the cat. I don't like the cat anyway. So after 3 months, I erase that off of my computer, right? Your main hard drive. The rose photo I really like, so I don't delete it from my hard drive, okay? Now, 6 months later, the neighbor comes over and says, I've lost my cat. And you're going, oh, good. He poops in my yard anyway. But he says he remembers that you had a photo of the cat. So you could lie, but if they know you're on a Mac and have Time Machine, you deleted it, right? But you can reach back into Time Machine. That's why it's called Time Machine and not backup. And pull that photo out of Time Machine and restore it onto your computer. And he can make his lost cat poster. Or you have to give him the cat back, either way.
How do you find it?
Yeah, that's the
If you don't
critical.
know the day, put it in there.
Say lost cat. No. On a photo, what you have to do is, it's kind of a time thing. To be honest, I just show this as photos, but for documents and stuff, you can use your search. So I don't teach how to find it until you need it because people screw it up. If you have something you need, unfortunately, be lucky you have it, but that's time to call Ken.
Then you also need to label it, don't you?
Not necessarily.
If you don't label it,
Not necessarily. You can go in and view it. You can go into the older ones and view your iPhoto library right there. Obviously, if you have 40,000 photos, that's a little tough to do. But you can get it. The key is it's there if you want it. Okay?
if you know the number, then you can go back.
Yeah, you don't know the number. I mean, the camera. But if you called it blurry cat photo, it would find that.
If you called it nothing, you did not.
Then search for nothing. No, but I'm saying you go back and you can visibly see the photo. But let's. So the rose picture, though, is still on your computer because you really like that picture. It's got little water droplets on everything else. It stayed in your computer, and it's always going to be in Time Machine also as a backup. Your first and best backup is a local backup. Apple sells Time Capsule, which is a wireless backup that's also a router. Any external hard drive, it does not have to be a Mac drive, and it does not have to be FireWire anymore. You can go buy the cheapest backup external hard drive and plug it into USB port, and it'll work just fine. But you need a second backup. Carbonite works okay. I like to see people buy a second hard drive, and you plug it in and let Time Machine do that backup, and then you take that and you put it more than 10 blocks from your house. Anybody know why? Why more than 10 blocks?
Fire.
Most meteors are smaller than 10 blocks. Put it at a friend's house, a safe deposit box, whatever. Because my feeling is if something affects more than 10 blocks, I'm probably not going to care about my photos or my old documents. Forget it. Well, we passed the apocalypse. That was last year, right? So anyway, and you take that off-site. But don't have it be somewhere convenient. Safe deposit box. You get those new little drives that are really small. Put it in the safe deposit box. And then if you take 30 more photos of the blurry cat or your roses, don't rush out and back it up from there. But if you take a trip to Mozambique and you come back with these great shots and you have 400 new photos, go get your backup drive, your secondary backup drive, and do that. Okay? Carbonite works, and it works well. There's Mozy, there's some others. But the thing is it's using a lot of internet. If you're like me and you take a lot of photos, most of them really bad, it uploads them and it takes a lot of time and a lot of bandwidth. But it does work. But the reason I like Time Machine is if this gets stolen out of my car, and I'm not great about backup, but I backed this up actually last night, which is, I probably do it every couple weeks because I hook it into my Drobo. If this gets stolen out of my car, I can go buy a new MacBook Pro, bring it home, I plug my Time Machine into it, and I say restore. Passwords, photos, desktop pictures, mail, everything. Your desktop is like you never left, okay? It's free. It comes with the Mac, the hard drive. You're going to spend $100 for a 2 terabyte drive. Do it, please. I'll set you up on the phone for free to make sure it happens because the worst phone call I get is, and I had 2 in the last 2 weeks, I've lost my drive. Or my computer crashed, I've lost my data. And then I just sit there, I go, do you have a backup? And when they do, I'm like, cool, I'll be right there, we'll set it up. It's so easy. When they don't, I mean, it seriously, it hurts me very bad because I know what that's like. I, years ago, I had a laptop. I was a sales rep. I had an original MacBook, PowerBook 140. And back when we had zip drives, I had this great database of all my dealers, and I had all this, it was an Excel spreadsheet. Back then it came on floppies. And I went through and did the whole thing, and I've got this database of all my dealers, and I'm getting ready to go to a trade show, so I'm going to do the right thing. I bought a zip drive, and I'm going to back it up. As I'm plugging it into the portable SCSI connector on the back, it pushes the feet. The back of the MacBook or the PowerBook drops this far, boom, onto the desk. My drive is useless. I was doing the right thing. I was hooking up a backup. Come on, give me like 10 more minutes. I would have been there. I took it to Drive Savers in Marin because I needed that data. And I was making pretty good money at the time, so it didn't matter. $1,200 later. This was over 15 years ago. It was $1,200. They got the majority of my data off it for me. Backups are a little cheaper than that. So anyway, Bob?
Ken, if you put if you put your time machine drive on a new Mac, right out of the box, and hit restore or whatever, is it smart enough to not copy over the operating?
Great question, and we're getting a little geeky on that, but what happens is it will bring in the operating system if you need it to, if it's older and you need the newer operating system. If you're running a newer operating system, it'll just bring in the data and the settings and everything it needs. It's a great question. And in fact, Apple has this great thing. You buy a new Mac, you plug your old Mac into it, boom, it transfers everything over. You actually can do the same thing from Time Machine, and it's easier now because now we have some weird cable situations, FireWire, no FireWire, etc. If the person has an existing Time Machine backup, I plug that into the new machine, boom. Apple makes it really easy for you to buy a new machine. Believe it or not, it's easier to, you can also bring it in from a PC, and it brings in everything. It's easier to bring in the stuff from a PC to a new Mac than it is to go from one PC to another PC.
Yeah, my question has to be really slowly and going back. I have Time Machine. Somebody put it in for me, okay? Kimberly, I don't know if it's external or if it's internal.
If it's Time Machines, it's external. Do you have a tower or an iMac?
Yes, I have a tower.
You may have a secondary drive, but it will never back up to its own drive.
Oh.
And that would be, and you're glad it doesn't, because if it backs up to its own drive and that drive crashes, well, I had a backup. Oh,
Well,
okay.
would it be better to have the Time Machine on an external?
Not necessarily. If you have a computer that has multiple drives, that's really another drive. The whole thing is it protects you from catastrophic drive failure, and you have a second drive if it's backing. No matter where it's backing up to a different drive. Now, you still need a secondary backup because they come in and the meteor hits your house. You don't have a secondary backup. All right, end of Time Machine rant, back to Pages. Yes?
How long does a time machine last?
How long does it last? What it does is, how many here have DVRs for their TVs that record everything? Okay, you know how it overwrites the oldest shows if you haven't watched it or watched them? It does the same thing. At some point, if it gets full, it says, I'm going to start deleting your oldest stuff that is not on your computer. So at some point it would say, after a year or two or whatever, hey, I'm going to get rid of that old cat photo, but it will never get rid of the rose photo because it's currently on your computer. Okay? But hard drives are cheap. I tell people, take that one, take it away, archive it somewhere, because at some point you may want that cat poster or that cat photo, and then put a new hard drive in and start Time Machine over again. Because hard drives are cheap. Al?
Does it tell you when it starts to drop off and you're reaching full capacity?
Yeah, what it does is a little window will come up and said, I'm about to delete some of your older stuff. Okay? So, enough. Any other quick Time Machine ones? Go ahead, John.
I followed your instructions like I would do, and I had Time Machine working, and I had a brand new Seagate, and I had the same problem. I wanted to find something, so I went back to Time Machine, and it tells me that it hasn't been doing anything. The light was flashing all the time, but the thing
Lights on, but nobody's home kind of thing? Lights on, but nobody's home?
yeah, that was it, and I called Seagate to find out what the heck's going on, and they ran me through a series of stuff, and said, yeah, it's dying. And I said, well, what's going on? Unfortunately, I backed up a second time.
So his backup drive went bad. So that's no problem because everything's still on your computer, but you will lose the old cat photo. So that's again why to have a secondary backup off-site somewhere else, just to get that cat photo. They have a hard trouble finding because it's not named. So unless you name it Furry Cat or Fuzzy Cat or Damn Cat. All right.
And remember the name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the other point. So we're going back to Pages, and I'm going to do it on Cloud, and I'm going to go New from Template Chooser again. And now we're going to get in, this was all, that other stuff I did we could pretty much do in Windows, in Word. The dictation works anywhere on your Mac. It works in Mail. I don't recommend you do it when you're trying to fill an address out on your mail because you're going to blow that person's name. It doesn't do well with common names, but it does in fact go in and harvest them from your address book so you can. Because when I say can, it a lot of times says C-A-N, like can. I'm the can-do person, I guess. Anyway, we're going to go down here to page layouts. And the first thing we're going to do is shut these little windows, and I'm going to go to a newsletter. So I'm going to pick this newsletter right down here, and I'm going to double-click on it or click on it one time and hit choose. So this is a built-in template. Now, my partner Pete always says, don't use any templates. You know what? In the beginning, use some templates if you'd like. I, half the time, use a template, and half the time go from scratch. I'm not a super creative person. I appear that way from Pages, and if I stay at a Holiday Inn Express the night before. But Pages, the template, the idea of a template is, Apple has some really good design people. And they've designed a neat look and a neat feel to this. And so the beauty of that is, if I decide to add another page to my newsletter, if I say 2 and 3 columns, let's say, they have the same fonts, the same colors, the same look, the same feel, which is great. I don't have to think that part through. I can adjust any of those I want, but why not go with what the good designers say so you can use that? Let's make it simple. But what we're going to talk about more, instead of just creating a newsletter, we're going to show some of the capabilities of it. So if we go back to this first page, the first thing you do is come down here and say fit page, because you want to see what it looks like. Okay. Actually, here's another point. How many here, the dock, you know, with all your icons on it, how many have their dock on the bottom of their computer? How many have it on the side? I've influenced a few people. Those that have it on the bottom, let me show you what happens. I'm going to go back up here and close this a little bit. Because, as I like to say, our Macintosh screens are built like me. They're wider than they are tall, okay? So, if the dock is at the bottom, and it's up, mine's so small because I have so many icons, but normally this is pretty thick. It takes up about 1 inch on the bottom of your monitor, and you keep bumping into it, okay? If I go up to the Apple logo and come down to dock and say position on left, I now have the full usability of my screen. Think about that when you're on a Safari website and your dock's taking up all this room. You keep running into it, and then they get bigger when you magnify and get by it, okay? Put it over on the side. Left, right, doesn't matter. I use 2 monitors when I'm home. When I go home, I click this to a second monitor, and I just have the same thing. So it's just out of the way more. And realistically, because of Spotlight, you're not going to use the dock as much as you used to, because you just type in Pages to get it to come up. Now, again, I'm going to go down here and say fit page. Okay, so it says it's 82% is what it is. Now, we're going to have a little fun with this. Who here remembers the old 25,000 clip art CDs, you know, and it was a 25 set that you got for $19.99, and they throw in fonts, right? And it was this big, and then you had to go through the book. Talk about trying to find the cat photo. Well, what picture do I want of the bicycle with someone falling off, right? And then do I want photos or clip art or whatever? I'm going to give you guys free clip art today. The biggest clip art collection in the world. So we're going to go to Safari. And I'm going to open new. All right. So, by the way, if you're in Lion or Mountain Lion, you know that you have a unified search bar now. You don't have the little Google search on the other side. I'm going to use my old standby. I'm sorry, you guys have seen me do this before, but my hands will never leave my wrists. Apple pie is what I'm searching for, okay? I don't really like apple pie, but I like all other foods. So I'm searching for apple pie, and what a surprise! Google comes up. Is that in focus?
Not for me.
No.
Ask the guy wearing glasses.
There.
Geez, my photos would have looked better. All right.
So with the cat.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe the cat had a few more lives left. So would the rose too. All right. So I just did a Google search of apple pie. Well, Ken, how does that apply to pages? If you'll notice, right here it says images. Ooh, like magic, we click on images. And, come on, we got to get the one I always see. Come on, we got to see it. This will, well, safe search is on, no wonder. That's good. It's got to show up. It's not coming up anymore. There's a little Mac Mini shaped as a pie. I'll bet these are big images. Hang on here. Our internet's really slow. Just a second here. Any size, any type. Oh, there it is. Look at this. The little Mac Mini with a logo on it. Now that's an apple pie I like. But I'm going to go up here and pick this apple pie. I always do. But you know what? Before I do, you'll notice actually I got to turn that off. Hang on. Turn search tools off. So this is how it's going to look to you. If you go over here and click search tools, you get some other choices, pull down menus. Let's explore those a little bit because these are important because we're going to make a really cool brochure. So who cares about time? Results, we don't care. Any size. Now, if you're going to print this, you may want images that are bigger because a bigger image, of course, scales down and you're going to get more definition about it. For right now, we're going to leave that off, but in fact, so if it's something for the web or something for an email, you can pretty much use any size. But if it's a document like this where you're going to print it, you want to maybe say, well, just give me the large images or just give me the medium-sized images. So you're filtering it down. Any color. Now, that's kind of interesting because it'll go and find these images. If you want some that are predominantly blue, green, yellow, it'll help with that. I mean, if we were saying, birthday cakes and you want a certain color. All right, tip of the day. I'll do that one in a second. Any type. Now, the cool thing here is faces, photos, clip art. Now, clip art of an apple pie scales very well because it can zoom in and zoom out. But look at this. That's a watermark. If you use that, it's going to show up as a watermark. That means it's in a stock photography kind of site. You would pay for it. This one has a watermark. There's no watermark on that one. There is a watermark there. So that means that I'm not getting into the ethics or the morals of you using these images because most people are doing this for fun. But I would not post this one on an internet site or in a for-profit book because first of all, they go, you stole that from there. And it shows up like that. But if it's a particular image you really like, you can take it and use it. The other one is clip art. The last one is line drawing. Line drawing works really well, and it also scales very well. You can zoom it up, zoom it smaller. It doesn't make a difference. It will stay very much like it is. But let's go back to, go ahead.
Ken, let's say you're making a newsletter in Pages.
Uh-huh.
You use one of the templates. And to send out the newsletter, you want to email it to everybody. So you don't want it so big like...
Well, I'll tell you what. Ask that after the break, and we'll show how to do it once we get it made. It's probably... I'm sorry, because the clock is not accurate. I think... it's 10:20. We're okay. We got another 5 more minutes. Thanks. Throw something at me, something soft. Speaking of which, did my little headphone thing make it back? All right. I'm going to pick this apple pie. So what I do, you'll notice when I hover over it, it actually shows me how large the image is. So you can just hover over it and say, I want one that's a little bigger image. But I'm going to pick this one. And when I pick it, this is newer in Google, I can say visit the page it's on or view the original image. If I say view original image,
What did you do to get that option?
I clicked on it first. I'll go back. Actually, I'm going to show you how we do a couple of these. Because many times you'll see pictures and you've got 6 of them you can't decide between. Grab your, let me get back here to close. I take my little finger and I hold the command key. I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to click on that one and that one and that one. And notice how they open up in tabs behind the scenes. Okay?
That's nice.
But I'm going to pick this one because I'm going to cheat and I'm going to show you later. So now I click View. And that, let's say you're doing a Google search on MacBook Pros. If it's just a list and not images, you hit Command click. It opens them in new tabs so you can keep going. Because otherwise you go forward and back and forward and back and forward, and then you forget where you are, and it takes a lot of time. View original image. There it is, in all its glory. Now, see it, notice it has a little plus here. I'm going to click that. That zooms it out. Now, okay, Ken, it's in Safari. It's on the internet at somebody else's servers at sedoxiafileswordpress.com. If this is an image that you want to retain, if you, on a trackpad, 2-finger click or control click or right click on the image, you get this. Okay? So our choices would be, we probably don't want to make this our desktop screensaver, right? We could save the image. We can save it to the iPhoto library. If it's one you're going to use again, why go through that search? Add it to your iPhoto library. But for today, we're not going to copy the image address. We don't care where it resides. We want the image. So I'm going to click Copy Image. Now it's on my clipboard, right? It's up here. It's on my clipboard. It's waiting, saying, Ken, I'm right here. What do you want to do with me? So I go over to Pages. And I'm going to just paste it anywhere. I click on here, and I go to Edit, Command-V, Paste. There's the image. Anybody see anything wrong with it, though?
Yes.
What's wrong with it? That damn white border.
Yeah.
Well, let's blow this up a little bit by dragging a corner. And I'm going to make it a little smaller. That white border looks crappy. So, pay careful attention. Now, some of you might use Photoshop. This would never be done in Word. I'm going to do, it's about a 12-step process to get that white off the back. So pay really close attention. I have it highlighted. You notice it has handles around it. Okay, don't write this down, but just bear with me, and then we'll go over it again, all 12 steps. A 12-step program. That's kind of sad. Hi, my name is Ken. Yeah, that's what I tell my friends MacNexus is. It's a 12-step program for Apple users. So, and I'm not trying to mock that. I just think it's true. Anyway, I have it highlighted by having handles around it. I've selected the image. Okay, first step is go up to Format. Come down to Instant Alpha. These are alpha layers. I click Instant Alpha, and then this thing says, click the color you want to make transparent. Well, we want to make the white transparent, right? And then drag. As I drag, and I'll show you that, it gets bigger. So watch this. I'm going to click and drag. See how the circle gets a little bigger? If I go too far, well, no, it's not. But basically, see that I picked a really simple background. If this had a bunch of colors in the background, it'd be a little tougher to do. That's the cheat. Okay, so I just selected it, and now look, when I hit Return or Enter, now all of a sudden, my apple pie has no white borders. Okay, how many steps was that? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Go bake the apple pie for the other remaining 9 steps, okay? Add the sugar, roll the dough. But I really want this to be down here where this thing is. So now I can simply take my new thing and copy. I click on that existing one and hit paste. And now my little apple pie is no longer that logo. I'll click that and get rid of it. Okay? So that is image Control-click, copy image to the clipboard, go over to Pages, paste it, and it's already still selected, so I just go to Instant under Format. Think about that a second. That heading says Format. I want to change the format of what I'm looking at, and I come down to Instant Alpha, and then I just go, boom. All right, and it says you can always remove the Instant Alpha if you want. Now, there's another feature where I could have gone and drawn points all the way around it and cut it out, but you know what? This was a heck of a lot easier. And those little point things, you know, every 6th point is like in the wrong spot and you can't go fix it.
What about mask and shape?
We're not going to go into that.
Okay.
That's what you'll get at February 23rd and 24th. All right, so that's going to be it for right now. We'll take a quick, I got to stop recording. We'll take a quick break.
What does instant alpha mean?
It's an alpha layer, so it's removing that alpha channel, which the alpha channel would be the white in that case. So, and who cares what it means? It works great. But no, it's the alpha channel. I think every color has it. I'm not a Photoshop person. Photoshop people would know that better than I do. Yeah. Okay, so going to turn off the screen recording.